Okay, so let's just dive right into this. We're about to unpack one of the most intense, most fascinating psychological showdowns you can imagine. It's this incredible collision of two completely opposite forces, and let me tell you, it promises fireworks. We're going to get into some really deep questions about truth, illusion, and, well, emotional warfare.
This right here, this is the core question of our entire explainer today. I mean, think about it. What really happens when a living, breathing mirror clashes with a master of deception? Something's got to give, right? So let's set the stage and meet the players in this very dangerous game.
All right, Act 1. Before we can understand the collision, we have to understand the two people involved. The best way to think about them is as archetypes. You've got the mirror, who reflects everything with this almost brutal honesty, and then you have the mask, designed to hide what's really going on underneath and project something totally different.
So first up, the Heyoka empath. Now, this concept has roots in the Lakota tradition, referring to a kind of sacred clown who acts in an opposite way to reveal truth. In our context, a Heyoka empath is someone who just can't help but mirror back the energy and emotions of the people around them. It's not a choice, it's not a tactic, it's just how they're wired. Their very presence forces hidden things out into the open. And on the other side of the ring, we have the narcissist. And look, we're not just talking about someone who's a little bit confident. This is a personality built around a desperate, bottomless need for admiration, what's often called narcissistic supply. They build this elaborate false self, this mask of perfection and charm to hide a really fragile, insecure ego. That mask, it's everything. It has to be protected no matter the cost. So when you put them side by side like this, it is just night and day. It's crystal clear. You've got deep empathy versus a total lack of it. Honesty that's just built in versus deception that's a way of life. One is seeking a genuine connection, the other is just hunting for fuel. They are, at their very core, psychological opposites.
So what in the world happens when these two meet? You might think they just bounce off each other instantly, but often it's the complete opposite. It's this powerful, almost, magnetic collision. So the narcissist sees the Heyoka's depth, their authenticity, and they are immediately drawn in. But why? Well, because for them, getting validation from someone so real, so perceptive, that's the ultimate prize. It's like the highest grade of narcissistic supply they can find. The Heyoka isn't a person to them. They're a challenge to be conquered, a trophy to be won.
And to win that prize, the narcissist pulls out their number one tool, love bombing. This is a full-on charm offensive. Over-the-top attention, grand gestures, mirroring the empath's desire for a deep connection. It's all an act, a really convincing performance designed for one thing and one thing only, to hook the empath and gain total control.
But here's the thing about performances. They can only last for so long, especially when you're performing for a living mirror. So that initial intense harmony, it's destined to fall apart. And this is where the dynamic really takes a dark turn, and that carefully constructed facade starts to crack.
And you know, the Heyoka doesn't even have to try. Seriously, just by being themselves, by asking a genuine question, by not playing along with the script, they start reflecting the truth of the situation. And that mirror, it starts to show the narcissist everything they've been running from, their insecurity, their emptiness, the big lie hiding behind the mask. And this is the narcissist's fatal flaw. They absolutely cannot handle that reflection. Their fragile ego just shatters. So, do they look inward? Nope. They lash out. The reaction is fast and it is vicious. They switch to devaluation, gaslighting, cruelty, anything to break the mirror, anything to convince the Heyoka that the reflection they're seeing is wrong. Now, usually, this is where the story would end, right? The empath either gets away, hopefully, or gets broken. But there's another layer to this, a much more complex turn of events, where this whole thing shifts from a simple predator and prey dynamic into something much more calculated, a dangerous game.
What if the empath is fully aware of what's happening? They see the mask, they see the playbook. And what if, instead of running away, they make a conscious choice to engage, to pick up the pieces, and start playing back? This quote from a Reddit user just absolutely nails this shift. This isn't about being a victim anymore. This is a deliberate strategy. They're engaging the narcissist on their home turf, almost like a psychological experiment to see just how predictable their manipulations really are. It becomes, well, a twisted hobby. So, how does this game actually work?
Well, step 1, the empath pretends to fall for it all. They play along, they let the narcissist think they're in complete control. But the whole time, they're just quietly observing, collecting data, seeing the patterns. Then, right when the narcissist is at their most confident, bam, step 2. The empath pulls all that attention away. This is called inflicting a narcissistic injury, and it sends the narcissist into a total panic. And that's when the empath just watches them scramble, revealing their entire manipulative playbook in the process.
Now, I know part of this might sound like some kind of karmic justice, but we have to be really, really clear about this. Playing this game is incredibly dangerous, and it comes at a huge cost. This is not a path to victory, and it is definitely not a path to healing. And the same user who laid out that whole strategy, they also shared this critical piece of wisdom. There is no winning this game. You can't beat someone who doesn't even operate in the same reality as you. They will always rewrite the rules. They'll always reframe the story to make themselves the hero or the victim. And the cost to you is just immense. You're looking at severe emotional burnout, you're wasting precious time you could be putting into healthy relationships, and you're risking real psychological trauma. But here's the deepest insight. Even when you think you're in control of the game, you're still playing. You are still giving the narcissist exactly what they want, your energy and your focus. So, this brings us to the most important part of this whole thing. If playing in the game is a losing move, what does real victory actually look like? How do you really truly get free? At the end of the day, the real takeaway is this. True victory isn't about outsmarting the narcissist or beating them at their own twisted game. True power comes from the realization that their game is not worth your time, it's not worth your energy, and it's definitely not worth your soul. The only winning move is to not play. It's choosing to stand up and walk away from the chessboard completely. And that just leaves us with one final and I think really powerful question. This whole dynamic kicks off because the empath is a mirror that reflects truth outward. But the path to healing, that requires turning that powerful mirror inward. So, if you are a mirror, what truth about your own value, your own boundaries, and your own need for safety, what truth do you need to finally reflect back to yourself? Because that is the reflection that will set you free.